Hey, everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Diamond Discussion. I am your host, Demetrius Woods, and today we're going to be talking schematics. I'm going to share with you the new NCAA transfer rule. That's going to be a game changer. And we've got a $100 giveaway for a lucky listener. So, without further ado, let's get it started. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the show, episode number 22. That's a Taylor Swift song, and I think it is. Yes. So, hey guys, I'm pumped. We got a lot to cover. In the show, but we're going to kick it off with this college softball update because last weekend was another wild one again. I think we got two more weekends of regular season before these conference championships or conference tournaments start to take place. And I could be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. I could cry right now for my LSU Tigers because we dropped the game this week at Louisiana Lafayette. I told you guys at the very beginning of the show back in November when we initially launched that I hate when LSU loses against Louisiana Lafayette. Like they feel like our kryptonite, and we beat them a couple of weeks ago midweek, which was great. That was a big dub for us. But guys, we allowed 9 runs, man, 9 runs. So that was tough one to swallow. I know we dropped the series to Tennessee, but we did pick them off that one game. I was proud of that one. But we're gonna be all right. We're gonna as my guy Mr. Beat everybody, Mr. Beat LSU, D'Angelo Sanchez, as he says, my LSU Tigers, they're gonna play at the highest level when it matters most. So I'm not worried. We still got a top 10 bid at the moment, but that one hurt. That midweek L hurt a little bit. But we'll be back. We'll be back and ready to go for this weekend. What else did we have, man? We had Auburn. Auburn snatched one from Kentucky. Kentucky just got right back in the top 25 rankings. And I'm telling you, man, this Auburn team, they went into that LSU series with only 3 SEC wins. Now they've doubled that at this point. So they're playing some good ball right now. And they might find themselves in the NCAA tournament. I don't know. I'm just saying. They're looking good. Cal picked off Washington. We had Arkansas that run ruled Bama. My girl Gracie Maddox would not be happy to hear about that. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Gracie, all right, Gracie Maddox. If you guys have not seen the Gracie Maddox episode, you missed out on a treat. But you're not too late. You can go back and view it. But Gracie is a big time Bama fan. But I feel like she's jumped on the Oklahoma bandwagon. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna let you guys know where she stands because she and I were supposed to be going to the SEC tournament soon, and which in a couple of weeks actually. So we'll see where she stands at that time. But UCLA, man, what a series! I watched the last game of that series, and I watched the highlights of the first 2 games. And Taylor Tinsley, she's a hoss, man. She threw 14 innings, I believe it was, went 3-0 in that series, and they got the sweep over a top 5 at the time, a top 5 Stanford team, and I think that dropped Stanford out of the top 5, but they're right there. They're right there, so I'm not worried about them. Notre Dame picked one off on a top 20 Clemson team, and then Virginia beat Duke twice in one day. So that was, to me, that was the first big blow that I saw Duke take all year because truly, as I picked Florida State at the beginning of the year to kind of be the team that would challenge Oklahoma's championship the most. And but then I kind of jumped off of the Florida State bandwagon a little bit as they started to, take a couple of tumbles. I still haven't written them off by any means. Then Duke started to really kind of creep up into my head. I'm living over in the ACC world a little bit, but they're still a force to be reckoned with, man. I'm impressed by what they've done, the campaign they've put together this regular season, and they're not going away. But here are these top 10 rankings by D1 softball. You got Texas, Oklahoma, and then you got Tennessee. All right, Tennessee, again, taking 2 of 3 from LSU. They deserve to be at number 3. Oklahoma State, and then UCLA took a huge jump. That sweep of Stanford was the most impressive series of anybody, in my opinion, all year because they were on the road, all right, and Stanford has Kennedy, all right, who I feel like could be pitcher of the year candidate, no doubt. So, again, that was a big jump. Stanford at number 6, Duke at 7, LSU at 8, again, and maybe it's because I'm being tough on my team because they're my team, but I just don't know that I don't know that we're an 8 seed right now. I can't definitively say that because we've dropped 5 series in the SEC. Not to mention, again, just this past one against Tennessee, albeit a top 10 matchup. But I feel like our RPI's got to be really, really high, or really, really good rather. And I feel like that's what's keeping us in the top 10 right now. But I can make an argument for Florida, Mizzou, A&M that's sitting right on this. No, A&M number 9 now. Actually, they're number 9 now, and then Georgia's number 10. But again, I can still make an argument for Florida to be in that top 10 as well. But anyway, either way, my point is top 10 is looking stacked as it should. And this season has not disappointed at all, man. I hope y'all are tuning in. And if you're not, it's okay because these conference tournaments are coming around, and I'm pretty sure things are going to be shaking and baking a little bit, and it's going to get a little topsy-turvy. So I'm pumped up about that. But speaking of college, all right, let's stay right here with the NCAA because they just announced last week that they are changing the rules about the transfer portal, right? As if we haven't had enough changes already. The transfer portal is what it is, okay? But now what they're saying basically is that somebody can transfer and have unlimited times now, right? You used to have a limit to that, but now you can transfer an unlimited amount of times, have immediate eligibility as long as you're in good academic standing with your previous location. That is huge, guys, because it was already crazy that you could transfer once or twice or whatever and have that immediate eligibility. But now you can go unlimited. That's crazy to me. And I feel here's why that's crazy to me is that this puts coaches in an even tougher spot, as if they weren't already in a tough spot anyway. The reason this puts them in a tough spot, let's not even talk about the NIL stuff right now. That's a sidebar. It's going to be tough to hold players accountable, and you're going to see players not stick and stay and go through the grind. All right, and what I mean by that is those players who may not be in the starting 9 on the softball or baseball diamond or in the starting 22 basically on the football field or whatever, like those players that aren't there, they're up and leaving and finding somewhere else to play, and they can have an immediate eligibility. And again, there's nothing wrong with transferring if you don't feel like the place that you're at is a good fit. Do what you got to do. I get that, but being able to now transfer an unlimited amount of times, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough, man. So I'm very intrigued to see how these collegiate coaching staffs in the NCAA are gonna handle this, and how they're gonna be able to retain players from freshman year to senior year. Are you gonna have players who are in one place for 4 years if they're not coming out of the gates as a starter? Right? Is this going to put more pressure to have freshman starters on the field or on the court, right? Or as a sophomore, whatever that looks like. I don't know. It's going to be intriguing for sure, and I'm all about it. I'm all about a little bit of drama. I'm all about challenges, and but I just hope that for the athletes that are listening to this, though, is that you don't lose out on an opportunity to have discipline, have accountability, and take ownership of the grind itself. Right? Don't lose that opportunity because the transfers are now unlimited. Right? Fine, you can use it to your advantage if you need it, but don't abuse it. And that would be my encouragement to the athletes out there, and for the coaches who are scratching their heads or ready to retire or whatever because of all of this, like stand pat, right? Because I think those of you who have built great programs will still have great programs if it's built off of integrity and if it's built off of being what I like to call a player's coach, right? You'll be fine ultimately. But if you're somebody who is kind of maybe doing things, taking the shortcuts or whatever, you're probably going to find some holes out there, and it might be a little bit tougher on you. So anyway, I'm interested to see how it goes, man. It's really gonna rear up on the football side of things the quickest because that's where the noise is right now with college sports. But the other sports are also catching up in terms of gaining some popularity and things like that too. So you'll see it in across the board, honestly. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm going to table the Pac-12 conversation right now because obviously, as everybody knows, hopefully, the Pac-12 will no longer exist after this academic year, which is just a sad story to even to think about because of the history that it has throughout football and softball and just all of the sports. Really, it's been an amazing run for that conference, and that's gonna be interesting to see a world with no Pac-12. But I'm gonna hold off on diving way too deep into that. Before we take a quick break here, I just had something funny to share that I saw earlier this week, and I think I saw it online first, and I just went and watched the clip. And then shout out to John Boy, who John Boy is he's got an incredible platform now. He and his team, and they did an ultimate breakdown on this situation. But the New York Yankees manager Aaron Boone, who played in the Major League Baseball, in the system for many years, had some incredible moments, including a big World Series moment as well for the New York Yankees. And now he gets an opportunity to be the manager. He's done a great job there, so to speak. And the Yankees haven't been all of that in a bag of chips. They've kind of flamed out in the playoffs, but I feel like Aaron Boone has done a great job of managing the team that he has. That's really the only credit I give to a Yankee manager right now. So, as a big Boston Red Sox fan. But anyway, all that to be said, he had a moment earlier this week where he gets ejected, okay, by the home plate umpire. All right, not really a surprise because Aaron Boone can get a little feisty, whatever, no big deal. But the manner in which he got ejected was wild because he'd had already a little bit of back and forth with the umpire. He finally settled down. He shut his mouth. Whatever. He went back to coaching the team. Right. Well, there's a fan up above the dugout. Okay, that yells something, and it was like a second and a half or two of yelling, whatever he must have barked in the direction of the home plate umpire. The home plate umpire hears it, and I'm assuming that he thinks that it comes from the dugout, right? He may not have thought it came directly from Aaron Boone, but he said it came from that direction, and the umpire said, "I don't care who it was, you're gone." And I'm like, wow, that is insane to me. Like I don't know. Here's the thing, man. I'm a referee. Okay, I referee basketball. A lot of you know that who watch the show, and I'm a big fan of officials. I am a protector of the officials because a lot of times we get more flack than we deserve. And just to be real with you, we're right more often than we're not. And so because of that, I'm always team stripes or team blue or whatever, right? However, in this case, he was out of bounds. The umpire was way out of bounds. Like, you have to know definitively if whatever came out of that dugout, if it actually came out of the dugout, then boom, you were warranted by ejecting Aaron Boone because you'd already told him that's enough. You need to take care of you and your staff, or whatever the conversation may have been. But this came from a fan, right? And then for you to turn around and say, "I don't care who said it," no, sir, no, sir, you're way out of bounds. But that was a very weird altercation. I felt like, and I think that sometimes, because we wear the stripes or we're the blues or whatever, like, we're so locked in on our craft, and ultimately we're right more times than not, yes. But in this case, he was wrong, and then they showed every I guess, how did it go? I think they show it usually the day after of a game. They'll show the umpire's report, and specifically for the home plate umpire, they'll show how many balls did he call, how many strikes did he call, how many of those calls were correct. And I believe it was like 14 out of 27 um, balls. How did it go? I can't remember exactly how it went, but either way, he got like a 68% strike call, basically. Like, that's what it was. It was his called strike count, right? That balls that he called strikes or something like that. Basically, it was 68%, and the average is like 88%. So he had an abysmal afternoon there at Yankee Stadium by the metrics from the standpoint of how often should he be correct. So he already was terrible at the plate, and then he ejects the head coach for something that a fan said. So what a rough outing for that umpire. But I just thought that was crazy, a crazy situation. And so I say all that to say this, because I know we have umpires who listen to this show. I'm always on your side because we are us, right? I'm always on our side, but when we're wrong, we got to own it. And it just rubbed me the wrong way, man, that that umpire, even when he had an opportunity to own up to his mistake in the post game, he did not, right? He kept going down that line of, oh, I didn't care who it was or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, bro, just own that because now you are all over MLB, social media, or you're part of the buzz. And for me, at the end of the day, as officials, the best day we can have is a day that we go unnoticed, right? We don't need to be making a scene. We need to be handling things gently at the end of the day. And so I don't think he did a good job of that. So I feel like he needed to be called out on the carpet for that. But in the same breath, there are a lot of other umpires who do a phenomenal job and they are excellent in their craft. And not say this umpire is not, he just had a bad day, but you got to own it. You just got to own it, man, and just suck it up and rock and roll with the punches. So, anyway, that's enough about the umpire soapbox. I thought that was just, like I said, an interesting thing. I'm going to share something with you guys that made me laugh. I'm going to give you guys also my thoughts on tournament formats for travel ball as well, and a couple of things right after the break. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So we have a couple of topics here for you today, including the instructions to a $100 giveaway at the very end of the segment right before the break. But before that, let's talk about one thing that made me laugh. I saw this on Facebook. I'm on a couple of different Facebook threads for coaches and like travel ball players and coaches and all that jazz, right? So this is on one of those threads, and this guy posts something on there, and I rarely ever get on there. It just came up on my feed. So I'm scrolling through Facebook for a few minutes before a meeting, and I see this post. All right. And this guy goes, if everybody on your travel ball team plays, then it's a rec ball team, which had me rolling from the jump. I'm like, what? Like, that's kind of a weird, I just feel like it's a little weird, like to say that without any other context. Okay. And then within a matter of hours, it's got like over 100 comments on it. He's going back and forth with people because honestly, at first I thought he was being a little bit facetious, but he was not. Like, he was dead serious about that. So here's my thoughts. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it because I'm like, this is a very interesting like mindset to have. And I typically carry a roster somewhere between 14 and 16 players. 15 is that magic number for me, especially because the last few years I've had a heavy dose of seniors. Like, it's like kind of just that repeat of seniors. And so like it's I think like this season we've got 8 or 9 maybe. Either way, it doesn't matter. Point is that with seniors, they're always all over the place. They got senior activities going on, especially this time of year. So I carry 15 players. Like last weekend we played, we had like 9 or 10 players. So because we had proms, we had other activities, blah blah blah. So anyway, my point is though is that everybody plays on my team. I believe in that because one, if and forget the pay to play thing because I believe in that to a degree, and I'll get to that in a second. But for one, what good does it do the young lady or young man if they're not getting reps? Okay, and I know every different travel ball team may have a different purpose, but the one purpose that I have always hung my hat on is that I want the ladies that I coach to simply get reps. Like, we'll help them get into college if the shoe fits. We'll help them, do other things off the field, become better young women. All of those things are equally important, or well, actually equally. Some of them are more important than others. But bottom line, my foundation is I want to make sure they get reps. Therefore, they have to play to get reps. They got to come to practice to get reps. They got to do all these things in order to get reps. So I think it's just bizarre that this gentleman was like, "Hey, you can't play," basically, like everybody can't play, rather, which is just that's crazy to me. The other thing on that front is I think about it from the standpoint of personnel, where sometimes you're gonna have players that are gonna play more than others. and that's okay. That's a part of it, right? I've got players on our roster who I would deem everyday players. They're gonna virtually always be in the lineup, and they're going to always be on defense because they've proven to be one of the bigger assets to the team in terms of affecting winning or impacting the game in a positive way, and that's okay. You're also going to have bench players that get into games sporadically, right? Or players that are there for moments. Okay, they're coming in. Maybe they're coming in to pinch hit. They're coming in to pinch run. Maybe they're coming in to relieve a pitcher as well in the circle. Okay. So, again, everybody's got a role, but as long as everybody has a role, they know that role, they can own that role, you can put yourself in a situation where your team is, working as a cohesive unit. But this notion that everybody shouldn't play or everybody, if everybody plays, they're basically just a rec ball team. Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with the rec ball teams. So I guess I run a rec ball team, covered up as if I am a travel ball team. But either way, I just thought that I found that funny. I found it a little comical, and I'd love to have that gentleman on the show one day just to be able to pick his brain. If he was truly being genuine about that comment, then I just want to be able to understand where he's coming from as well. So I may just go on social media and invite him on the show. That way you guys can hear from him instead of me sounding like I'm bashing him, because I'm not. But I just think it's an interesting thought. So anyway, that's something that made me laugh. Thoughts on tournament formats. I wanted to share that because I one of my favorite tournament directors. I get a chance to talk to him, just at random points and times, and he is another one that I'm going to eventually have on the show at some point this calendar year, probably, because I feel like he does a phenomenal job. He works hard, and I can tell that he is simply trying to serve us being the travel ball people, right? And I love that because as a coach, that's what I'm doing. I am genuinely serving my girls. I'm serving these parents and our families as best as I possibly can, and I feel like he does that from a tournament hosting situation, right? And but the tournament formats are always interesting because people have pros and cons to all of them. So I just want to share a couple of my pros to each of the formats, and one of them, is the very simple single elimination 1 day tournaments. Like that is probably the standard one, a 3 pool play, one a single elimination type deal. You play all of that in 1 day. And if you play all day, you probably put yourself in 6, maybe even 7 ball games, but usually probably 6 or so, especially if they're splitting up the brackets and they do like a gold and a silver, which I don't really love that. But like if that is the case, then it makes it go by a little bit faster. So maybe you only end up playing 5 games at the end of the day if you make it to the championship. But either way, 5 games in a day at 70, 75 minutes apiece is not a lot, in my opinion. That's probably the equivalent to what in terms of the time that you're on the field, I feel like that's about equivalent to a doubleheader in college. But correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Either way, that's what I feel like. So those formats are cool. Like they are long days. They can be hot or they can be really cold or whatever. But I think they're good in terms of um, testing your stamina a little bit mentally and physically, and I feel like that's always a good thing to test, and it's also good to figure out from a coaching standpoint, like, hey, who can go at certain times. Like there was a time where I had this one pitcher who she just was not a morning pitcher, and so I would never schedule her in the morning, but she was good to go in the afternoon. Once that sun started to come out a little bit, sun gets shiny, gets a little warm, you can take off the hoodies and sleeves, and she's locked in, ready to roll. So again, I feel like it's good to figure that stuff out. It creates a little bit of a challenge in its own right, and I like those events. So those are cool. The other ones are double elimination ones in 1 day as well. Those are a little bit quirky to me. I feel like it's tough because I like a double elimination tournament. Those are kind of my favorites, to be honest with you. Not because of the mulligan or whatever, but like I like them also because it just gives you an opportunity to have some different challenges, and maybe you end up playing everybody in the tournament as well, or more. You have more opportunities to play more different teams that are involved, and so but they're tough to do in 1 day because the the best you can probably do is a 2 pool double elimination type deal, And with two pool games, maybe you get an accurate, indication of like your top seed and on from there. But double elimination is fun though. I like those. So no sweat about that. The biggest question comes though with the 2 day tournaments, and this is something that my guy, the tournament director, his name's Brian Hopkins, and he runs tournaments down in Dublin, Forsyth, Milledgeville, kind of in the central Georgia, middle Georgia area. So Middle Georgia Fast Pitch or Middle Georgia Softball is the organization that he has of his own, under the USFA umbrella for running softball tournaments. Okay, so a little plug for Brian there. But he and I were talking earlier this week, even just simply about the 2 day event and how sometimes he gets good feedback from coaches and teams about running those, but then it doesn't really materialize sometimes when he plans them. So it's like, all right, like coaches are telling me they like it, but they're not really they're not putting their money where their mouth is. Basically, he didn't say that, but like ultimately that's what he's saying, right? And here's my thing about 2 day tournaments, man. I love them. I love them. We got one this weekend with Brian. And I love them so much because they give the team an opportunity, hopefully, to bond between games a little bit longer. Maybe if the schedule works out, you can do lunch, dinner, breakfast together. There's just ways that you can structure that to where you can have fun with it. You're hanging out by the pool, with your teammates or a couple of your teammates, or just you're getting to have those bonding moments. But also, it gives you a glimpse of what it could be like for a full weekend of softball, like going into those week-long beach tournaments that I'm going to talk about here in a second. Like that 2 day event is a smidgen of what that would be like, right? And it's still a lot. Like this weekend, we've got 4 pool games, and then we'll jump into single elimination, and we'll play those 3 of those pool games on Saturday, and then we'll play one early morning pool game on Sunday, and then we'll jump into single elimination bracket. So we could play as many as 7 or 8 games over the course of 2 days. And again, still a lot on the bodies, but it's something that I feel like can be good. All right. Now the cons to it obviously is, you've got hotel expenses, you've got food, out to eat food expenses that can be a little tougher if you're somebody that's accustomed to just eating groceries at home and things like that. So again, the financial aspect of it, that's unavoidable, and that can be a perceived con, especially when the economy may not be where it needs to be at that time. So anyway, I love them still though. I love everything, so I'm probably not the best person to like talk to about it, but either way, I love them all. And the last one obviously is the beach tournament. I can't say enough about those. Honestly, I would probably, if I had it my way, I would do a beach tournament. Hear me out. Okay, I would do a beach tournament like once a month if I could. All right. If money wasn't an issue and if I could get it covered for all of my families to go for free or pennies on the dollar, like we would do a beach, like we play from March through July in the spring. So we wouldn't be able to do that in March necessarily because they're in school. But like if the players were like, "Hey, I'm willing to give up my spring break to go play ball," and we go find us a beach tournament and play for a week in April, we do the same thing. Maybe not in May. We'll play some regular tournaments in May because they got graduation and Memorial Day, my anniversary. I don't ever play on that weekend, so like we can't do that in May. But then you got June and July. Maybe we can rack up like 2 in June and then 1 in July, and so now that's our season. Like we've played like three or four beach tournaments. We've sprinkled in a couple of 1 day events there just to keep things fine tuned, and then that's it. That's all you do. So again, if I had it my way, that's how it would be because I love those. I just feel like you really get to bond with the players better in a condensed time frame, and I also just love when the players get an opportunity to go play 1 maybe 2 games a day and then they're off. I feel like you're getting everybody's best every single day versus game 5 sometimes of a 1 day event or even game 6 of a 1 day event. You may not get everybody's best. You're really, again, you're trying to test out the stamina there. So again, as a coach, that's a pro. But from on a con side of things, you can look at that as maybe a downside too, where you're not getting everyone's best. So again, that's my opinions on the formats of the tournaments. I like them all. I'm cool with all of them. I'm honestly down for whatever. I'll travel because it's travel ball, guys. So if you don't like to travel, then probably travel ball isn't for you. Because I know people out there who are like, hey, can we just these aren't any of my people, thankfully, but they're like, hey, can we just play within like 30 minutes of the house? And I'm like, what? Are you kidding? Like, if you live in Atlanta, Georgia, or you live in the metro area, maybe you can get away with that. But we live in Eatonton, Georgia, and there are no tournaments within a half an hour of here on a consistent basis. So that's a no go. But anyway, my point is formats, tournament formats. I like them all, but each of them have their pros and cons. All right, before we take a break here, we have a $100 giveaway opportunity, and I want to share the details with you real quick. So here are the steps. All right, I need you to like and share the clip of this post on your Instagram. All right, on your Instagram stories, and then in the comment section, you need to tag 2 friends. All right, and then here's the kicker. All right, in addition to tagging those 2 friends, you have to share 5 ballparks, 5 MLB ballparks that you think that I've been to, excluding the Atlanta Braves Stadium as well as the Boston Red Sox Stadium. So I've been to those 2; those are givens. All right, but I've also been to 13 others now to watch a baseball game. So the challenge for you, again, like and share, tag 2 friends in the comment section on Instagram right here, and then name 5 MLB ballparks that you think that I've been to. And so we'll do a drawing next week for a lucky winner for a $100 Visa gift card, and we'll announce that on our social media, make a big deal out of it, and hopefully that lucky winner can do something great with that money. I'm sure you could use it for gas, groceries, you name it, this time of year. So anyway, we're going to take a very quick break here once again, and I'm going to jump back in here with our open book segment, and I thought you should know a moment. So we'll wrap it up right after this. We'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the show one last time. I'm going to jump right into our open book segment. Actually, no, I'm not going to jump in the open book segment. I am going to share a major shout out to a young lady that I think is really, really awesome. Okay, so quick story time. This young girl, her name is Elena, and Elena is, I think she's 11 or 12 years old now. But I got an opportunity to meet her a couple of years ago, and I gave her some lessons early on. She moved from Alabama here to Georgia, actually in Monticello, Georgia, very, very small town right next door to Eatonton. And man, I'll tell you, this young girl works her absolute tail off, man. So she came here to Georgia, obviously, new school, trying to find new friends, a new team. She's on a 12U Atlanta Vipers team now, and she's absolutely grinding, man. She's absolutely grinding. So here's the thing about life. Okay, so I hope this story about Elena inspires you a little bit, because Elena is the epitome of somebody who has, persevered. She's worked her butt off. She's adapted to new things, right? But she's also found a way to find a niche that works for her. Okay. Now, again, she's got great parents who have helped her, helped her find her way in that. They're also just trying to find their new norm. It's been a couple of years now, so obviously they're good probably now. But my point is, in the early goings, I know it had to be tough on her. And it's really cool because I got an opportunity to talk to her mom recently, and she mentioned, like, it's been stressful trying to hone her craft, get her game going, but recently it's begun to pay off on the field. And it's just such a beautiful thing to think about, because sometimes we put in so much work, so much effort, and it's like it takes forever for it to pay off. And for her, for Elena, it's paying off for her. I'm so proud, man. Elena, I'm so proud of you, girl. Your stats. I'm watching your games. I'm watching videos that your parents post. So keep doing your thing. Keep inspiring young women, men, adults, all of us, because this story about Elena, which is going to be even bigger as she begins to just grow and continue to, become a teenager and whatnot. But man, I'm telling you guys, like, change is inevitable in our lives, And if you will just embrace it and you will work through the challenges and tough times, you can do big things. You can do anything that you put your mind to, just like Elena. So that's my big shout out right there to Elena. Okay, so we're going to jump into our open book segment. Let me segue here real fast. And if you notice, actually, I guess you guys can't see this in the shot if you're watching on video, but I'm using my notepad um, the last couple of weeks. So I've used my laptop pretty regularly, but I've gone to my notepad just because I'm a writer. I'm a writer, so I like to write things down. And so for the first 20 shows, I really didn't go this method. So I hope this has been okay for you guys. If it's not, sorry. Okay, anyway, so open book segment question number one. All right, this one is from Desmond O. And he asks, "Do you prefer to roll two, double play? So do you prefer to turn a double play with bases loaded, less than 2 outs, or would you rather go four?" First of all, Desmond, good question, my brother. That really depends from a travel ball standpoint. To me, that depends on time and score, and because both of those things really matter. Time and score. So if we're late in the ball game, time wise, and it's really not on our side, and we're potentially down, then I'm gonna try to cut that run down right away. Like I'm really not interested in trading outs for runs at that point because I may only have one opportunity to get another at bat, or I may have none potentially, depending on what the timer is and if I'm the home team or the away team or whatever. So I would say that it depends on that front. Now, if I'm up by a few runs and I'm the home team potentially, I'm willing to trade an out for a run because one, the double play is not guaranteed. So and so that I think that's a big deal. Like I've watched. Speaking of LSU, like I think LSU may lead the nation right now in double plays turn, like 20 something. And but again, you got to execute that almost perfectly to get a double play turned in travel ball right now. And so because of that, I'm not giving up that run if I'm if it's a tight ball game and I'm not up or something like that. But again, if I'm up by a few runs, then yes, I'll take that out. If it's a hard ground ball to short or second base, I'll trust my ladies to turn that double play or at least get one. And now we're sitting at first and third, or maybe we can get that lead runner at third base or something like that. Now my favorite one or the simplest one to turn is a hard ground ball to third base. Bases loaded. She steps on the bag and we go across the diamond to one. That is one of my most ideal double plays, really. So because what that does is that now, especially if there were no outs, like now it's just first and second. We got 2 outs. We're good to go. Whatever. So anyway, or actually, I guess not first and second, is it? It's just a run on second now. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, it's just again, my point is that depends on time and score. So I'll go with that. Number two from Luis G. And he asks, how much do you charge your players to play, and how much do you pay your coaching staff? So I can answer that pretty quickly. So I charge less than $1,000 per calendar year, usually within the $800 to $900 range these days. Just inflation is a booger, and then actually we don't pay our coaching staff anything. So we are all a volunteer staff, and I know that. And Luis, I'm assuming you're asking this question because you're I don't know you, but thank you for watching the show. Obviously enough to ask some questions and whatnot. But I'm assuming that maybe you come from a background where that's a common thing to pay coaches or what have you. And I know teams who do as well, but that's not my mo. This is a service thing for me. That's kind of how I look at it. And so as although if I could pay our coaching staff out of my own pocket, I absolutely would. To be honest with you, just because I know that that's a token of appreciation. But I do try to love on our coaching staff and in other ways, maybe with swag or maybe picking up a tab or whatever. But again, at the end of the day, we're all volunteer staff, and the fees of our players go directly to tournaments, practices, equipment, team outing, maybe things like that throughout the year. But ultimately, we try to keep our expenses cut and dry, as simple as they possibly can for our families. And honestly, the very first season, you're not going to believe this, probably, Luis, but very first season that I coached, 2019, I charged $300 for the calendar year, actually. And as you can probably understand, like, we had to pull some money out of pocket, my pockets at least, to get the season paid for completely. But I was just trying to make sure, man, that nobody was just I didn't want anybody to not play because of the money, and I still don't want that to be the case. But honestly, I've had to go up by 250% basically, on fees because of tournaments increasing, and just other expenses that have to be paid for at this point. But my point is that I try to charge the bare minimum, and that also includes just our coaching staff being strictly volunteer. So hope that answers that. And then our third question here is, how's your season coming right now? And this is from Aaliyah C. So great question. Our season's going pretty well, actually. We've had 4 tournaments thus far, and then leading into the tournament season, we had spring training weekend, and of course, we also practice in between tournaments at least twice a week, of the tournament weeks, and then we'll typically take off, on the weeks that we may not be playing ball. So, and then now, like right now, we've got 4 straight weeks of ball coming up before we take another extensive break for graduations and trips and whatnot, vacations. But anyway, all that to say, season is going pretty well. Our girls, man, they're bonding pretty good. I feel like this has been, and definitely no slight to any of our former teams, because I love every team I've ever coached, but this team right here has been the most peaceful in terms of getting along with each other. And when you put 15 people, whether girls or guys, in the same space, like it can be tough. But but I guess on that same token, though, it's been peaceful because of the type of personalities we have. We have a lot of we have many type B personalities, I would say, where people are kind of cool just to chill, and they're not very very talkative, and so that's cost a little bit this season thus far on the field, where I would have loved some more communication. um, we won our very first tournament. We've been bounced in the first round the last 3, so we're hoping to change that narrative this weekend, or at least along this 4-week stretch that we're about to play some ball. But again, we're above 500 right now, so it hasn't translated the way I would like in terms of the win loss column, but that's obviously secondary in the grand scheme of life. But I think we're going to be able to turn that around here pretty soon, because I feel good about where we are. Practices are going well. They've been run efficiently, and the girls have embraced those. They're giving full effort, so we're in a good space right now. So season, I feel like we're in a good spot, decent on the win loss column, but really really good in terms of where I feel like the girls are, and the growth that they've been able to have. So felt really good about that. So that is our last open book segment question. And so I'm going to share our thought you should know moment for the day. And this comes from a gentleman by the name of Duke Baxter. If you don't know the name Duke Baxter, go follow him on Instagram. He has a lot of amazing, I say amazing, I don't want to exaggerate, but really, really good nuggets and tips about the game. Baseball and softball, they can apply to both. And he even does drills and videos. He has an indoor facility. I don't know what part of the country he lives in, but he has a really really great setup. And so anyway, he posted this the other day that I saw on Instagram, and it is a caption, and it said, "If you think practice is boring, try sitting on the bench." And I thought that was pretty blunt, very very cut and dry. And I think at the end of the day, guys, because I do know that some people are like, man, I just want to play. Like, I just want to play ball. I don't want to practice. I just want to play. And I get it. I absolutely get it. But what I will tell you is that as a ball player, man, if you embrace the journey of growth, you will appreciate playing so much more, because it just you understand what you can do, man, with your game, with your body, and just practice is a time to try new things, right? Like, try that Logan and Asia, 2 players on my team right now. All right, Logan plays a lot of bit of second base rather. Asia's at first base, and they've been working on this behind the back glove flip from Logan, right? And I want them to be able to try that in a game at some point, but you got to practice it, right? So again, you just simply don't get better by only playing in tournaments. You get better by practicing. So guys, go to practice, embrace practice, have fun with practice, okay, and make sure that you're getting something out of it, because my biggest fear as a coach, honestly, from a practice standpoint is calling a practice and then everybody coming there and then not getting something out of it. So I spend a lot of time making sure that I design our practices very specifically and strategically based on who's going to be there and the amount of time that we have to get it in. And so I always hope, whether my girls are driving 30 minutes round trip or 3 hours round trip for some of them, I want them to be able to walk away with knowing that they got something out of that evening or that day, because at the end of the day, that's why we practice. We got to get something out of it, and we got to be able to feel like we're having some type of a growth, piece from that. So anyway, that is my thought you should know moment. Thank you, Duke Baxter, for providing that for us on the show here today. We're done. We're wrapped up, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed episode number 22. It has been an enjoyment for me to share my thoughts with you guys. We're going to wrap this show up, man, like we always do. So please let everything, I mean, absolutely everything you do be done in love, because at the end of the day, that is truly what makes the world go round. Go be great today. Go change lives. Go impact the world in a positive way. And we're going to catch you next episode, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in. We'll see you later.